Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Thank you, everybody, for tuning into us here on Speaking of the Devils. I'm your host, Ryan Novozinsky, joining you as always from the media room here at Prudential Center, which was the site of the Devils' 3-1 loss to the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Buffalo hits the empty net goal there at the end to make it 3-1. Sorry, I had 2-1 on my notes, and also the NHL media site for some reason is the stats are just not updated, so I almost just read the wrong score there. But the Devils fall to 20, 15, and 1 on the season. Of note, they are also 12, 14, and 1 since the 8-game winning streak. I know that's been a trend that we've been following over the past couple of games here, so I just decided to read that stat once again. But I can't talk about any of this until I know that we are live. So somebody tell me in the comment section down below, and that will determine if we can start this stream. Somebody tell me if we are live, and we will go ahead and deep dive into that. Before I get to that, though, I guess I should thank our friends over at New Spine for sponsoring us here on Speaking of the Devils. With 7 locations there, New Jersey's leading institute for minimally invasive spine surgery. Live your best life and live it pain-free. Visit newspine.com. That's nu-spine.com to find a location near you. All right, so we get back into this one. The Devils had a bevy of players just return from injury or personal matters in Timo Meier's case. You got Timo coming back, from that. You got Arseny Gritsu coming back, and the big whopper of all is Jack Hughes returning to the lineup. That was obviously the main story of the day. Jack Hughes speaking this morning for the first time, having some interesting comments about the freak injury, which he didn't exactly delve too much information into. A couple other things he touched on as well, but the biggest question I think of all is how much would this injury, because if a player's out with like a pinky injury that's lasting, cut hand on a piece of glass, like this must be that serious of a cut where you're talking nerve damage, you're talking, it's going to affect the tendon, like everything like that. You must have cut that. How much is this going to affect his game? How much is this going to affect his shot? And early on in this game, Jack Hughes proved that it was not going to affect any of that. He scores his 11th goal of the year. Excellent release on the shot there. So I guess his hand is fine, his pinky's fine. Buffalo, it was interesting defensively. Their strategy was to kind of play off him a little bit, which I think, with Jack, you kind of have to choose to overcommit or play loosely with him, because you can just twist and wind his way through the zone and punish you in that regard. But he's able to take advantage of just some porous Buffalo defense there, and he just again pots his 11th goal of the season. The celly was great too. I mean, this was just a classic Jack moment. And Jack already takes back his crown, or I guess he's tied for the lead of Devils goals on the team this year, which is pretty amazing for him to be out for this long and still just immediately reclaim the crown there. Just goes to show how poorly the Devils have been offensively lately as well. It was interesting too, because the crowd was into it. The team clearly fed off that. Like, the first period for the Devils was tremendous. I think I saw a stat out there that Jack expected goals for on ice. That first period was 100%, which is just unheard of. That's crazy. It's ridiculous. The Devils completely torched Buffalo in that first period, and you thought this was going to be en route to a Devils blowout, right? You even had that clinic at the end of the first there, where they're basically playing keep away to try to get a fresh sheet power play to start the second, but Buffalo obviously touched it with 11.9 seconds to go off a Luke turnover. So but they still got 150 of power play time to start that second. This should have been that. The momentum of the crowd, the momentum of Jack scoring, that should have been the recipe for what would have been a Devils victory. Evidently, it was not. Instead, here's what we got. We got the Josh Norris goal coming right after that. And I feel like this is just, talk about this with someone in the press box, this was a vintage Devils moment where they start the period with a power play, then they get scored on themselves just, a couple minutes later. I thought that was, very telling. Like that's just so Devils that happens. Benson scores after there. That was an awesome goal, little head fake action there. Benson looked to his left, and then he kind of ripped it home. faked out Allen. Allen also might want that one back, but I also would have to say that Brendan Dillon was also out of position there. He pinched a little bit. I'm not sure exactly why. It's kind of a clueless decision there. Buffalo outplayed them like crazy in the second. That's ultimately what won them the game. It was beyond the 2-goal advantage for them in the second there. They out-physicaled them. They outshot them 12-6. They outchanced them 23-15. They had a 4-1 high danger chance for Edge as well. It was really just a lopsided second period that led to what ended up being a Devils loss. And the win was all in their sails, but then it completely just died out shortly thereafter when again. They get the momentum from the injuries coming back. They get the momentum. I mean, heck, even if Jack Hughes was the only one to come back, that would have been a boost in and of itself. And the Devils can't really take a hold of that and produce that into a victory. So that's a shame. It kind of was a big take the wind out of the sails game, I feel like, for the Devils, where it's like, all right, on paper, this should have been a victory if you saw all this stuff that happened. And ultimately, it was not. But that's all I got for notes today, guys. I'm going to dive into, I see we already have a couple super chats, which I appreciate you guys. We will dive into that in 1 second. Before we get into that, though, I am going to share my screen here because we are going, where's the little wheel thing? Oh, yeah. We got to do this giveaway, okay? I told you guys last time that I was going to give away a hat. I'm giving away this nice Devils Carhartt hat, and we have, these are the super chatters that submitted just to show you, peel behind the curtain a little bit here. I randomly generated I got all these responses, and I put your responses in multiple times so that it's a little more even. Zach Chin, our friend Zach Chin, the GOAT commenter, he submitted a crap ton of super chats last time, so he gets more submissions for that. So let's spin this. This is it would be a heavy upset if Zach Chin lost this. But let's see, guys. Okay, let's spin the wheel here. Here we go. For the Devils Carhartt hat, let's see. Is it going to be Zach? Is it going to be Zach? Oh, my gosh. Zach, it's not. Oh, Bokers, you have won the Devils Carhartt hat. Bokers, you have 24 hours to reach out to me. I'll give you 48 hours, Bokers, to reach out to me. And in that case, I will find a way. I'll mail it to you. I'll get it to you at a game if you come to games this year, and I will get you that hat. But congratulations to Bokers for winning that. Let's get into the comments. We start here with our super chats. We start here with who else but Zach Chin, who sends in a super chat and says, Zach always sends in these questions of the day, and today's is not even a question. This maybe the Q stands for quote of the day, because this is a doozy of one. Is this team hopeless? I don't think hopeless is the right word there, Zach. I mean, look, you look at that first period, I think that shows you what this Devils team can be, right? That shows you what this Devils team can be. They can be a team that, when they're gelling offensively, they're a force, they're a juggernaut. They can look to be, they're even solid in the defensive, though. That's a big emphasis of Sheldon Keefe's coaching as well. I think, quite frankly, a lot of this game, too, was, they got outclassed in the second period for sure. But I think a lot of this was, they got goalied, too, by Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He was awesome. That'd be a great little Devils goalie acquisition if they can end up getting him. Though, Buffalo's red hot right now, so I don't see that being the case. And I think that Tom Fitzgerald is going to ride with this Markstrom situation because I think that his hand is now forced. I don't think hopeless is the right word. I think that it's also going to take some time for these injured guys to get fully back up to speed. So we'll see, once they get back up. But, things right now are not great. Like that was a loss that can, again, I'm going to keep using this phrase, but it can take the wind out of your sails, right? Like that's you shouldn't lose that game. All these other factors come into play. If I told you before this game, okay, Jack Hughes is coming back in and he's going to score in that first period, he's going to break the ice with that, break the scoring there. You would have said, oh man, the Devils dominated Buffalo that night. If they can get that from Jack, if Tate McRae's in the crowd, if Livy Dunn's and Paul Skeens are in the crowd, you would think this was a perfect recipe for a Devils win. Evidently, it was not. And that's bad. But, they're going to have other opportunities. And I think that once these healthy guys kind of get back more into the mix, I think things are going to be better. And, let's not forget, Fitzgerald still has to make a trade. Like, I feel like that kind of goes underreported right now. It's like, all right, Devils are back and, they have all these healthy guys. They all got all these bodies back. Great. you still got to make a trade. The warts are still there. The center depth is still crap. The Jack still needs a scoring wing. The offense has been abysmal of late. I saw a stat before here. I'm going to pull this up. It's my bookmarks here on Twitter. Todd Cordell points out, or no, sorry, Alex Shavancy points out that the Devils have scored just 5 goals in their last 4 games. That's not good. I mean, the offense is still crumbling right now. The power play, ridiculous. I can't remember exactly how many power play chances they had tonight, but I can tell you that over their last 10 games, the Devils have a power play percentage of 8.3%. 8.3%. I'm going to imagine that that's the league low. Let's see. NHL best power play percentage last 10 games. Sorry, I should do NHL worst power play percentage last 10 games. Oh, wow. Toronto's is actually worse at 7.4, but the Devils are second worst at 8.3. That's not good. Like, your special teams has to at some point bail you out. You know what, too? It's out of sync, guys. It's just completely out of sync. And they came through last game. Like, Sheldon Keefe mentioned this after the game. Although I wasn't there, I just had this relayed to me from Slipper Jimmy Nichols because I was talking to Lindy after the game. The Devils right now, the power play bailed them out last game, but there are points where it's actually like I feel like it's taking the win, like it's becoming a negative for them, right? Maybe they start declining power plays. Maybe they just have to start doing that. We move on though to Ghost Dog, who sends it in super chat. Thank you so much for supporting us on this level, guys. I sincerely appreciate that. If you guys want your comments to be read first, you can get it higher in the queue if you send us a super chat. Anything helps. Anything to help grow the channel works. So send in $1, send in $2 if you want. Send in $5 like Ghost Dog did here. Either way, I support. I very much appreciate your guys' support. It helps me grow the channel, and it'll help us go on the road some more. So let's go do that. Ghost Dog says, with Kovacevic back practicing, a Dougie trade probably needs to happen right after the break, right? Any guesses where to potentially? Great question there. I actually wrote this in the newsletter for tomorrow. It's this Kovacevic thing is going to have to, like, this is good. We're going to have a solution here at some point soon. I tried to crunch the numbers today. I think that the Devils can make it work with the roster as kind of currently constructed. Well, not roster as currently constructed. That's a bad way to put it. It's going to take some tinkering, but they can do it without making a major move. I guess it would be the way to put it. But it's going to take a lot of annoying paper moves. It's going to take a lot of annoying cap tinkering there. So it's a mess. And quite frankly, it's not sustainable too, because it's just one of those things that you're going to be sitting there with a bunch of guys on LTIR, and you're going to be sitting there with guys that are in the minors that shouldn't be in the minors, everything like that. They have to make a trade. Again, don't know the details of Dougie's no move clause, but he has, we don't know the teams on Dougie's no trade list, but he has 10 teams that he could be approved to trade for. I would imagine, because these guys can edit those things. That's what people always forget. I had an agent remind me of that the other day. These guys can edit those every season. So obviously, like, if Dougie wanted to stay in New Jersey, he's going to make his 10-team approved no trade list. He's going to do it to teams that have shored up defensive help on that right side. He's going to do it to teams that have crippling cap situations where they can't take on a $9 million per year guy, even at like 50% retained, which is still $4.5 million. But it's like I feel like who's taking on this Dougie contract? It's going to take a lot of retention. It's going to take a lot of retention. It's going to take draft picks attached to it. That's just how low I think his value is right now. But you also could see, I could see a team maybe biting on him just for, the sheer potential of it. Maybe they see it as he's been distracted by all the trade rumors, everything like that this year. I don't know, but yeah, I would agree with you, Kovacevic, I would agree with you, Ghost Dog, that something is going to have to come to a head soon. If I were to throw out one, I mean, I feel like we always hear like Dallas linked to him. I feel like that's always been the popular one for a while. Trying to think of who else needs right shot defenseman help. Man, I can't really think off the top of my head. I'm going to throw Dallas out there just because that's the one you've heard him linked to for months now. Maybe the Devils can make some sort of trade there work. I don't know Dallas's cap situation right now. Let me see. Dallas Stars Puckpedia. I don't even know who it would be for. Man, the Devils are in kind of a bind right now. Like, you had to sign Dougie at the time. That's fine. Let's see. Oh, they have $3 million in cap space, so I guess they could make it work if he was retained. But do they really want to retain that much? maybe Dougie retained, and I don't know, Matt Duchene. I know Matt Duchene, not Matt Duchene. Man, I don't know what the trade would be, guys. I really don't. This is going to be tough. This is the question of the year for the Devils. I feel like this Kovacevic thing, and now it's finally going to come to a head. I would agree with you though, there, Ghost Dog, that you have to get something done here soon, maybe after the break. Dive into the rest of the comments. Mikey Mike, the way this team can emphatically shut down any reason for optimism in new and creative ways is almost impressive. Yeah, no doubt about that there, Mikey. And look, there was so much hope in that first period. This game had all the markings of a dominant Devils win, and ultimately it wasn't. The fact that Buffalo was able to flip the script like in a crazy way. That was some vintage Lindy Ruff hockey too in that second period. I know the terrible slip in Jimmy Nichols said that he tweeted that out, and we talked about that in the press box. That was just a classic Lindy style of hockey. A lot of ozone pressure, things like that, sustained ozone pressure. Out chancing them, out shooting them, and just analytically at the top of the charts. That was the fact that they turned that around in such a dramatic fashion for going from that juxtaposed to that first period was very dramatic. Future Man says, after Buffalo scored the empty net goal, I started watching Nazem Kadri highlights. Good line there, Future Man. Yeah, I don't blame you for that. Again, I mentioned it before, but the vibes were so high for so long, with between the Jack coming back, between the two games that the Devils won this past week, especially two tough teams on the road, that we almost, I feel like the pressure cooker, I feel like, kind of turned down on Fitzgerald a little bit, but not in my head. In my head, the pressure to make a trade and one that could really help this team offensively, especially, just ramps up even more. Go get a Nazem Kadri, go get somebody like that can shore up the center depth, get you some offensive pop, get you even some grittiness too. You need that. You need a player like that. You need a player. Ryan O'Reilly, I know, has been out there a little bit too, but even the other day there was a report out there from Pierre LeBrun that said that he potentially is not looking for a trade right now. Don't know what the deal is, but at some point Fitzgerald's going to have to make a move because now there's more stakes. Before you could wonder, it would be a panic move if you're doing this during the injuries and everything like that. But now it's like it's not a panic. It's like you got all your guys back. Now you have less of a leash. Like if you can't perform with these suckers in the lineup, like what are we doing here? Rick Roma. Sorry, buddy, I'm really parched tonight. Sucking down this Gatorade Zero. Rick Roma, ice was brutal. Yeah, 100%. Sirens did play earlier in the day, as Rick Roma mentions here. That game, thanks to the Sirens game, that was, oh my gosh. Okay. Well, listen, I'm not going to, no. Listen, the Sirens are a fun team to watch, and I caught a little bit of that game myself earlier today. No need to dunk on them. In an attempt to talk about the ice. Yes, the ice was bad. But there's no need for the other part of the comment there, Rick Roma. Come on. They should play at UBS. Oh my gosh. Future Man, I am not worried. The top six is going to be fine. There were spurts where they were humming. Third lineups and knife shifts too. We need a 3C badly, and that's not happening until we move money. Yeah, again, like it's the same thing with the Kovacevic thing, where it's like you gotta make some sort of move here to move some money out, in order for you to get the flexibility to make some of these moves here, So yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what this trade ends up being. But top six, look, you get a top six back today, and most of those guys that came back were top six guys. Maybe they just needed some more time to gel. I think I'm with you there, Future Man, that the top six is going to be fine. But the other end of that coin is Nico and Jesper Bratt have not produced. Nico and Jesper Bratt have just straight up not produced. I think Nico is something like 2 points in his last 10 or so games, or something ridiculous like that. Jesper Bratt, I think in the size like 16 games, he just got, or sorry, in that same span, 10 games, he's just got 3 points or something ridiculous like that. these top guys, and they're snake bitten right now too. Like Jesper Bratt, I feel like had a lot of opportunities there. Nico Hischier certainly, between this game and last and the one before that, had a boatload of opportunities, and they're getting the chances, but we can't just keep riding on that until they start like burying these things. I mean, it's just you got to start burying them, and then we'll start giving you the plaudits for that. Stanley says possibly the worst loss of the season. State media will tell you they got goal lead BS. The Devils had nothing after period one. Jesper Bratt, I just don't even know what to say anymore. Yeah, 100%. Just talked about Bratt right there, so don't need to dive into it too much. Although I will say this. Let's see his numbers over the past 10 games or so. Jesper Bratt. But yeah, tonight was really ugly from him. Last 10 games for Jesper Bratt, a goal and 2 assists, and a plus minus of -4 in the last 10 games. Let's go even further back. Let's go like last 15 games or something. Goal and 7. Sorry, so if you go past 15, it's not that bad. But so you got a goal and 7 assists in the last 15. But just having 3 points in your last 10 is a brutal stretch there from what should be one of your superstar players. Look, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was great. But I mentioned that off the top that there was a semblance of the Devils getting goalie tonight. There's no doubt about that. He stood on his head. But that second period, to me, that was the game changer in this one. That was the total game changer in this one, where things started to tilt towards Buffalo's way in a very dramatic way. Future Man says, I think Brad is either hurt or it's in between his ears. He's been pretty bad the last handful of games. Yeah, I just mentioned his statistics there as well. And look, like you're going to go through spurts of the season where your star players even have a dip there. But look, Jack Hughes was out of the lineup during this stretch. You can't shut down like that if you're Jesper Bratt and you're making that much money a year. You can't. 3 points in the last 10 games is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. So you definitely need him to start showing a little more. Stanley says Jack scored as many goals in maybe 3 minutes of ice time as Brad has it for the last 21 games. That's a good stat. Is that accurate? Does he just have 1 goal in the last 21 games? Oh my gosh, I just completely messed that up. Jesper Bratt last 21 games. Yeah, you're right. Jesper Bratt has 1 goal in his last 21 games. Inexcusable for a superstar player to have that. Oh, wait, this is Zach's super chat from before. Zach, if you're still listening, I need a question of the day for the newsletter tomorrow. So send me over one. Send me another one. Rick Roma, or maybe I'll just use that one. That's pretty fun. Rick Roma, I've seen this game a lot over the last few years. It's time to change the core of this team because it's rotten. But Fitz is scared of his own shadow, so I doubt any real change is coming. I think the team, I think the core as it's currently constructed, even with the warts of, what these top 2 players in Jesper Bratt and Nico Hischier have, the cold stretch that they've been on lately. I still think the core is fine, and I think that they're, I think that they're guys that are going to be, part of. If the Devils go on a Stanley Cup run, there's going to be in large part due to those 2 guys. They're just going through a tough stretch right now. But I don't blame you for demanding more out of them. You should demand more out of them, right? And not just that, especially in the absence when your star player goes down. And Jack, of course, is an excellent player, and he provides an immediate spark plug there. But they shouldn't need to rely on that, right? They shouldn't need to rely on that so much. The team shouldn't completely collapse whenever Jack Hughes exits the lineup. Rick Roma says Nico and Brad have not been good. Yes. I would move on from one of them. Time for a franchise change of mood. Also, I hate to say it, but Nico is not a great leader. I know people around the team laud Nico for his leadership skills. I know that's a narrative that people say a lot online. I don't necessarily agree with it. As for your first point, look, the problem with, because I feel like everyone always goes back to Florida, right? They always make the Huberdeau for Tkachuk trade. The problem with that is that Huberdeau was kind of a, how should I say this? There's a reason why Huberdeau crashed and burned immediately after that trade, right? He was treading water, and he was, the points. Yes, he was 100-point getter. That was great. But that the points didn't necessarily like match up with the analytics for him, and even the eye test and everything like that. He was never that like transcendent of a player. Whereas that's so I don't know. Like I feel like the the Devils don't really have a guy like that where it's like where you know, like the analytics match up with all these guys, right? And they show how valuable they can be to this lineup, right? I feel like if you trade one of those two guys, first of all, who are you getting back in return? Maybe it's Brady Tkachuk, right? I feel like that's the one that always gets thrown out there. But I feel like Ottawa doesn't want to trade him. And you know, if you trade Bratt for Brady Tkachuk, like what is, you know, I'm just like, stylistically does that fit your team as well? Like I don't know. Again, like, or you know, it's tough to say. It's tough to say. Those franchise altering moves are the reason they're a dime a dozen. They don't happen all the time. GMs are rightly too afraid to shake up their core in a dramatic way. Stanley says this was such a flat performance, not a good look when you take out AHL players and they get worked by a team that played yesterday and traveled. I thought it was interesting that Xavier Perrant, was one of the guys that ended up getting sent down. Oh my gosh, what the heck? And that's only because, like, I feel like he was a spark plug for them, right? He had an immediate jolt to that fourth line. So, you know, I thought that was kind of a curious decision for them. Obviously, they have to get Jack back in, so makes sense. But you'll take it, yeah. But the loss of the Utica guys was certainly, especially Perrant, was noticeable tonight. Luke FIB, and again, sorry, one more point on you. Like this one, Stanley. It's like you expect the team to have a jolt after that Jack goal, and they just didn't have that. The rest of that first period was standing. Luke FYB, the biggest problem is the offense from the back end. They have one offensive threat with Nemo out. Dougie's last point was on November 26th, and his last multi-point game was on October 30th. Dougie has to go. Yeah, we talked about this before, but who's going to take Dougie? Who's going to take him at that steep price point? It's going to be tough, guys. It's real. That Dougie trade, whatever it ends up being, if it even ends up being, it's a tough one to swing because I just don't know what team is going to end up taking them right now. Well, guys, that was a depressing loss there for the Devils tonight. I'm going to wrap this one up a little early just because, you know, you could just tell the vibes are down right now, but we try to talk you off the ledge there. Might do a surprise stream tomorrow if you guys want to tune into that. If there's any interest there, I'll pull out some feelers there, see if we could, you know, just do a little therapy session, things like that. Other than that, then I'll if I don't do that, then I will be going live after the Devils take on the New York Islanders on Tuesday. So we'll see Devils take on Matty Schaefer and co. Until then, talk to you guys soon. Our winner once again of the hat contest, Bokers, reach out to me on Twitter at Ryan Novo NHL or shoot me a DM here. I'll try to message you as well, and we will try to get you that hat. Until then, guys, have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.